man. We have no leaders but looter. Man. Zimbabwe corruption is madness. I remain one blow, Mr. Blow, as I blow the corruption. Mutilation for my generation. Hear me now. Shout out to Raspi. We have a mafia government in Zimbabwe. We have no rights in Zimbabwe because the police and them soldiers are corruption, corruption. See, we have no ministers in Zimbabwe because they appoint their sons and girlfriends. Mama, corruption. The police is brutal, the military is volatile. See, corruption. Every corruption in Zimbabwe. Hear me now. How can a whole nation with ministers lost 15 billion? Zimbabwe is funny, the diamonds were given to Chinese in exchange for cheese. What about your Zimbabwe? Yeah. Corruption, 3 airplanes went missing. Mugabe and his in-laws and we're dishing. Let's talk about weak, no solar and hospital plus goats. The minister and president lie under oath. They injected Morgan and silenced the revolution. I cry corruption. They paid Nelson and stole the election. The nation left in confusion. Mr. Wamblo, I say it's corruption. Big up to you, one boy. This nation is rotten. We need a revolution. And youth on a mission. Say no to corruption. I'm about to cry now. Prophets and pastors lie for cash cars from Wicknell. We have fake socialite and ass-licking musicians, you ja praiser. Preacher, try more. Walter Magaya and you Pastor Yan. Poverty makes us brainless, calling looters boss and praising corrupt military. Why do journalists fear? Big up Hopewell and bless it. Salute out and Soul TV. What happened to General Solomon? Air Marshal Terence Sherry, Minister SB Moyo. Where is Walter Muzembe? Don't forget more Blessing Ali. This government mama is corrupt and bloodthirsty. No to clueless government. Sex for Mr. Appointments. No to gold mafia. Even you, Prophet Angel, you a criminal. We have a mafia government in Zimbabwe. We have no rights in Zimbabwe because the police and them soldiers corruption. See, we have no ministers in Zimbabwe because they appoint their sons and girlfriends. Mama, corruption. The police is brutal, the military is volatile. See, corruption. Every corruption in Zimbabwe.
Right, so to put this into context so that we can open up the space, kuti mimi muuye muisoma contribution yenyu, ndaisa topic 2017 versus 2025, differences and similarities. I was having a conversation with a brother of mine. Atizwa angoinini I'm confused inini. Ndakati koindava chichiri kuitika zvikanzi ndingoona vanhu varongoti tikabatana nevanhu ava takaitiswa 2017, saka tikajoinana navo futi vanhu ava, whoever arikuda kuti tijoinane naye haachatiitisa futi 2017 because hatisi kudai repeat ya2017 muna 2025. Vakati aiwa ngatimboongorora kuti chii chaiitika 2017 and chii chiri kuitika 2025. Let us do this comparison, compare and contrast. And then maybe that probably is going to be helping people to decide whether to be part and parcel of the 17th of October 2025 occasion or not. Right. So, and then it got me to think as well. I was like, I was one of the folks, that was leading the charge on social media. I remember I did spend some time online, not sleeping, covering events, talking to people on the ground, so and so. I even did interviews with the likes of Matema Danda, who were the people at the forefront. Wanama here who were the people at the forefront of what was happening in 2017. And from what I understood, when I was speaking to these leaders of the war veterans, I remember when I was asking Matema Danda, kuti what really is the issue? Chii chaita kuti izvo imimi war veterans musumuke semasumukire amaita. And he was upfront with me. Akanditi, Uncle Jed, what we are against is the capture of the ZANU PF leadership by Grace Mugabe and the rest of the G40 crew. Tiri kuhondo takagadzira leadership yedu, and that leadership was more or less a succession plan yekuti uyu akabva uyu panouya uyu, uyu akabva uyu panouya uyu, uyu akabva uyu panouya uyu, uyu akabva uyu panouya uyu. Zvikanzi mukada kutarisa patave, yes, there are some people who were part and parcel of that succession plan. Leadership yavo yavakanga vagadzira 1979 to say kuti iyi ndo leadership yedu izvi kana tichinge tapinda mukati menyika yeZimbabwe. Uyu ndo utongi huchange huripo mubato reZANU PF kana tichinge tapinda mukutonga nyika yeZimbabwe. Zvikanzi of course pane zvakaitikawo along the way, vamwe vakafa, vamwe vakabuda mumusangano, vamwe vakadai, vamwe vakadai, vamwe vakadai, but that leadership structure has remained intact in terms of who comes after who. Mukada kuchitarisa, now that Robert Mugabe has been there for a very, 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 very long time, 37 years. We did not get the opportunity yekuti that leadership plan iyoyo ipinde into place because vamugabe vakaramba varipo for a long time. But tikada kuchitarisisa pane vanhu vacho vasara, munhu ari kufanira kupinda according to that leadership iyoyo yatakagadzira 1979 yaitaura kuti pahierarchy vamwe yesu vapera kufa vaita sei, but pane munhu asara anofanira kunge achisucceda Robert Mugabe ndiEmerson Mnangagwa. Saka nawo zvaakuitwa naGrace Mugabe izvi akuda kujamba kana kuti akuda kuporonga leadership yedu yatagara tinayo yatanga takasarudza, kana kuti succession plan yakagarirwa pasi ikatenderwa kuti iyi ndo succession plan in terms of leadership 1979 tiri kuMozambique pachimoyo. Ndikati ho, saka ikozvo zviri kuitwa naGrace Mugabe akuita kuti leadership yeZANU PF iite sexually transmitted, and that is not what we are all about. There's nowhere where we said kuti izvo mukadzi wapresident will succeed, especially munhu akaita saGrace Mugabe. Haana ma-liberation war credentials. I think he used the word rekuti angatorowo zvake ngechimbwido. So that was mainly one of the reasons why they then stood up against Grace Mugabe and the G40 elements at that particular moment in time. So their appeal to the Zimbabwean people at that particular moment in time was to say we cannot allow such to happen. Grace Mugabe and the G40 elements to come in and take over. We cannot allow that. So that was one of the reasons why these guys decided to stand up. The Mahias, if you remember, I think Douglas Mahia, they were once threatened with arrest, at the time, whatever. But that was one of the reasons why these guys, they said, good, nope, We are not going to accept that. And then immediately after I did that interview, namatema danda, hazvina kutora nguva, ndo pakapinda nyaya Operation Restore Legacy. Ndo patakuudzwa kunzizvo there are criminals around the president. And these criminals must be dealt with. They must be removed. If you remember that rally yakaitwa, it should be Parfaro Stadium, which culminated in the firing of Emerson Mnangagwa, that letter that was then written. And then there was another rally futi yakazoitwa pakupemberwa kuti munhu akanzizvo navamugabe, ndinokudonhedza ndinokudonhedza. And pakazoita nge paita mhemberero yokuti munhu adonhedzwa after munhu anyorerwa tsamba naSimon Kaya Moyo kunzi uyu munhu inhubu uyu, zvichirehwa Emerson Mnangagwa. Emerson Mnangagwa achizotiza achienda vhaya Mozambique akapfeka dress achizomudira ava kuSouth Africa kwaakazonogara pasi nana Mutsvangwa nevamwe maelements eopposition kuzogadzira chinhu chakazoita kuti vaMnangagwa vadzoke vachinzizvo ndo vakuita mutungamiriri kwenyika. But mukada kutarisa what was going on and what led to the involvement of the citizen was the operational Restore Legacy. When we were speaking to these guys, they were preparing the ground for an onslaught. People only got onto the streets after the army had gotten involved. After Chiwenga had made the announcement of the Operation Restore Legacy, yekuti tinoda kubvisa macriminals vakatenderedza vaMugabe. But in the meantime, mukatarisa kwese uku kumashure uku, pavaiita tsoro dzavo vachiita mapreparations avo, leadership yeopposition and other members of the civil society were involved, were in the know. Some of them even being told what to do and what not to do. Because there was a certain there was a center of power at that particular moment in time that was directing operations. So everyone got involved. Vanhu vakasiyana-siyana from all walks of life got involved. Vanhu mukapinda mustriti tikapembera Robert Mugabe. The asanda-sana moment yake was a moment yekuti munhu wese akanga afunga kuti vaMugabe vaakusiya chigaro. Asi vaMugabe vakasurprise everyone, vakapedzisira vangoti asante sana, tozoona ana pane chikamu chinoteera. Ndo pakauya idea yekupusha the impeachment yavaMugabe muparliament. Vagara muparliament, havana kugara muparliament as in sitting in that parliament, but vakaenda kuRainbow Towers, if my memory serves me right. Ndo patakaudzwa kunzi vakuda kutoverenga kutochaja vaMugabe the impeachment charges. Mutenda ndo paakasumuka akataura kuti areceiva tsamba yabva kuna vaMugabe yeresignation. Ibva yaverengwa kunzi vaMugabe vasiya, pakaita jubilation isingaite. Ndofunga makaona vamwe vakapinda iziti yange iri Mickey's Hotel here, vakabvisa mufananidzo wavaMugabe vakaukanda panze, vakaita sei nekuti vanhu vakanga vafara kuti vaMugabe vabviswa, nekuti vaMugabe neG40 yavo vakanga vanzi izvoni ava vamugabe vanofanira kuprotectwa, but kuprotecta kwatofanira kuvaita ngativabvise pachigaro. Tavabvisa pachigaro, then tovaprotecta isusu ava maenemies aya, enemies of the people ava, the G40 vakasaraunda president ava, todhila navo. Ndo zvakazosakisa vamwe vakutiza vakatarisa ngezvemudhudhudhu vakaenanga kuMozambique, vamwe vakazopedzisira vakukenya, vamwe vakazopedzisira vakusouth Africa, vamwe vakapedzisira vakuMozambique, vamwe vakangopararirawo imomomo, asi vamwe havo vakazodzoka, vamwe vachiriko kunze, vamwe vachiita sei. Saka when you are looking at ma-events akaitika ipapo, yes, of course, the criminals around President Robert Mugabe, issue imwe yacho yanga iripo, yanga iri number one, yanga iri nyaya yecorruption. Kuti these are corrupt individuals and they are taking advantage of Mugabe because Mugabe vakura. He's now old. Saka they are taking advantage. Saka if the army does not step in and salvage the situation, munyika hamuzomira zvakanaka. Ndokubviswa kwakaita vaMugabe, if my memory serves me right. Saka if you are looking at my events aripo or my reasons aripo back then, akanga ari a operation restore legacy. The legacy yacho yakanga iri yeutungamiri wakanga wakasarudzwa 1979 kuti tichaenda, this is the order of our seniority, kuti kubva pana Mugabe panouya nhingi, pouya nhingi, pouya nhingi, pouya nhingi, pouya nhingi, pouya nhingi. VaMugabe vakabva, uyu ndiye achapinda, popinda uyu, popinda uyu, popinda uyu, popinda uyu, sekutaura kwakanga kwakaitwa navamatema madanda. The interviews there, if you search it on Zimbabwe Live TV, you'll find it when I spoke to him. So there was this operation Restore Legacy, and we want to deal with the criminals around the president. So in some way, it was a power grab. It was issues of power as well. So there was corruption, Operation Restore Legacy, to make sure kuti zvatekarwira kuhondo ndo zvatinofanira kunge tichiteedzera mukati menyika yedu yeZimbabwe neutongi hwemukati menyika yedu yeZimbabwe. Wakanga wane mukana wokuti atonge nyika after vaMugabe wakanga wari Emerson Mnangagwa, but Emerson Mnangagwa was now fighting a rebellion that was being fronted by Grace Mugabe and G40 cabal. So we needed to stop that. So there was Operational Restore Legacy. There was the need to defeat Grace Mugabe and G40 cabal, and then there was also the need to deal with the corrupt individuals that were surrounding Robert Mugabe. But in order for us to do that, Emerson Mnangagwa needed, to come in. Emerson Mnangagwa was then supposed to take his rightful place after Robert Mugabe, because he was now the survivor aripo pahierarchy yavo yeuseniority, anofanira kupinda achitora pasiwa navaMugabe. Hence there was that effort to create a buy-in for Emerson Mnangagwa to be there. Ndikutaura zvinhu zviri on record, and that is conversation yandakaita namatema danda. Remember, these were the guys that were forefront. Nana Douglas Mahia vari forefront. Pakazouya vana Chris Mutsvangwa after vapedza kuita meeting yavakanga vaita, ma-meetings avakanga vaita vari kuSouth Africa, because vanhu vaiziva kuti Emerson Mnangagwa anga ari kupi after aescapa aenda, vakanga vari ana Chris Mutsvangwa nana Shumba vekuopposition, vaitoziva paaigara Emerson Mnangagwa. But anyway, so when you're looking at this, the 2017 that was going on, Those were the main things that facilitated or that contributed or that underpinned my events akaitika 2017. But the bottom line is there was the issue of power, the Mugabe versus the, Mnangagwa, the issue of power. Mnangagwa ending up triumphing, trying to restore the legacy, dealing with corruption, running the country as it's supposed to be run, creating employment, making sure that everybody benefits. That is what they I that is what I understood that to be. To fast forward now, we are now in 2023, late 2025. There's a lot that has happened along the way. The issue of corruption, ladies and gentlemen, did not go away. Corruption is even been worse, has now been worse under the leadership of Emerson Mnangagwa. And on top of that, they've created more criminals that are surrounding Emerson Mnangagwa, as some would want to say, or as those dossiers would want to say. That we cannot continue, we cannot sustain things. Things cannot continue as they are because we have got criminals that are taking advantage of a president who is probably operating at a certain level of incapacity. Isati yakunyanyozikanwa kana kuti isati yakunyatsonzwisisika. So if you want to draw a comparison with 2017, we can more or less say the same thing. But in 2017, Robert Mugabe was surrounded by his wife, the Chombos of this world, the Moyos of this world, the Kasukuweres of this world. Those were the criminals surrounding Robert Mugabe. If you come to 2025, there's also that element of criminals surrounding Emerson Mnangagwa. And now there's an issue of power grab, which I want to believe is now happening. That you've got one faction in ZANU-PF and another faction in ZANU-PF. This faction is saying that you and your people, no, my bo. This faction is saying, look, these people, my bo, and we want to see a change. My criminals are surrounding the president. Emerson Mnangagwa must be arrested. The same way that message was packaged back in 2017, that criminals around Robert Mugabe must be arrested. Now we are having the same thing, criminals around Emerson Mnangagwa. Now we've got Chivayo, Tabirei, Tumbarara, we have got Anguaya, we have got all these other ones. And back then, there were no affiliates. This time, they are now affiliates. But there was only one affiliate. Back in 2017, there was only one affiliate, and that one affiliate was Munwese Punahmai. But this time, you've got so many affiliates. But the message has remained the same. That they are thieves, they are criminals surrounding the president. As they were in 2017, we have got it in 2017. In 2017, there was an issue of a power thing that Grace Mugabe cannot take over. Whether the threat was real or imagined, but it came out as Grace Mugabe was angling for the position of commander-in-chief in Zimbabwe. And she cannot, because she's not part of the hierarchy. But this time around, we have got somebody now whom we are being told that there was an agreement that was made back in 2017 that one is going to be in power for for such a time, and then another will come in and take over from this one. But now this arrangement is being threatened because now enters the possibility of kuda kwasitagwirei are taking over. So these ones are saying, no, 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 no. We cannot have a civilian like Kudakwasi Tagwire to be taken over. Like they were saying, we cannot have a civilian like Grace Mugabe to be taken over. And hence, we must do something. And this one is saying, we cannot have a civilian in the form of Kudakwasi Tagwire taking over. Hence, things, must change. That is one angle. Another thing, that existed in 2017, which is existing now, is the issue of corruption. In 2017, there was corruption, now there's corruption. So there's a similarity there. But this corruption is being perpetrated by a few individuals. There's a similarity there. But 2025 presents us with another bigger challenge, which should be a cause for concern for every Zimbabwean. Munhu wese, mwana wese wemuZimbabwe must be concerned with this aspect that I'm about, to touch on, right now. Munhu wese, this was not there in 2017, but this is taking center stage in 2025. And that aspect that was not there in 2026, or that did not take so much of a center stage in 2017, that is now taking so much of a center stage in 2025, is the aspect of the mutilation of the Zimbabwean constitution to make sure that one faction in ZANU-PF get what it wants. I was listening to a Jealous Mawariri. He was speaking of a document that was authored by Jonathan Moore and this guy called Glenn Ma something, and being supported by, I think he said, the Swiss embassy, something like that. And in that, he said this document that was authored by Jonathan Moyo, Glenn, and being supported, there's an organization or there is an external entity that he says was responsible for some of the election disputes that were witnessed in the region, being also involved. And this document here, the one that he's speaking about, is a document that has been crafted such that we will do away with Section 92 of the Zimbabwean Constitution, which speaks of the election of the president by Zimbabweans. So what he's talking about here, I have not seen that document, but he spoke about that document, and he said that document, the way it has been crafted, to remove this idea or this thing whereby the president of Zimbabwe is elected by the people, remove that and make it possible for the president of Zimbabwe to be elected by parliament. And then he goes on to say, if things go according to plan, and if that document is implemented, it goes via parliament, the section 50, the section 92, we get rid of that section, and by the 22nd of December, that document should be operational such that Emerson Mnangagwa's tenure as the current president of Zimbabwe will come to an end. And when it comes to an end, it's coming to an end 2 years, 3 months into his second year term. And because he would not have served 3 years, that will not count as a term. And if that is allowed to happen, it means he can benefit from whatever it is that is going to be happening. And then Parliament elects him as the president of Zimbabwe in his current composition, and he can go on until he can they can achieve their 2020, their 2030, even go to 2035. That is what you are saying. That they want to mutilate this constitution so that it benefits Emerson Mnangagwa, and Emerson Mnangagwa remains in power. Right? And this is what the other faction in ZANU-PF are fighting right now, to say no, 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 no. We cannot have that. Emerson Mnangagwa cannot be allowed to mutilate this constitution and do what he wants. So that is one possibility, or that is one avenue that has been put, out there. That jealousy is spoken about, today. I'm quite sure some of you guys, you have seen that. Outside of that, we still have the issue of the resolution number 1 to contend with. And that resolution number 1, it is also talking about mutilating the constitution to allow Emerson Mnangagwa to go on and be president beyond 2028. So whether that is going to, to materialize, whether that is going to play out as it is being envisaged to be, that it is going to be playing out, nobody, really knows. But there is this aspect of the mutilation of the constitution of Zimbabwe that was not there in 2017, that is now existing in 2025. Hence this call to say, vana veZimbabwe, Hans will join us on the 17th so that we can resist this. I'm not saying go ahead and join them. I'm not saying go ahead and not join them. I am just saying, when you look at 2017 and when you look at 2025, they have these similarities, they have these differences. 2017, the sentiment is people were used to settle ZANU-PF factional wars. In the beginning, they were accommodated. But when it mattered most, they were not accommodated. Hence now, you are being told that we were there in 2017. And that 2017 taught us a lesson. But this lesson hasn't been felt in 2025. Are we talking about, the same thing? Is there anything that can be done differently, this time around to prevent that which happened in 2017? What lessons were learned in 2017 that we can say this should not be repeated again in 2025? By joining ZANU-PF factional war in 2017 and aiding, the power struggle in 2017, resulting in Emerson Mnangagwa winning that power struggle in 2017? Is it a lesson that must be learned and should never be repeated again in 2025, whereby it seems there is a power struggle again in ZANU-PF. This time, the VP and his principal, the same as it was back then. So is this a lesson enough to say 2025 is a poison chalice? We've been there, done that. We experienced this. This time around, we can't experience this again. Or the lessons in 2025, that whenever you're going into this thing, don't go into private negotiations with these people, because they can always turn around and throw you under the bus. Maybe this time there has to be public conversations to say, if you want the buy-in of the citizens, if you want the people to be part and parcel of this, these are our demands. This is what the Zimbabwean people are demanding. This is what the citizens are demanding before they even think about joining anything, before they even contemplate the idea on the idea. This is what the people, want. Is that something, that can happen, this time around to prevent that which happened in 2017? So, ladies and gentlemen, I've tried my level best, to look at these, to look at these time periods. What was happening there? I might have missed out one or two things, or three or four, five, six things that happened in 2017. But in 2025, we haven't even gone in there. Nothing has happened. So what can people learn from 2017? That which can then the lesson that they cannot repeat in 2025. What is it? Because in 2017 there were power struggles. In 2025 there's power struggles. Where does that leave you? You as a Zimbabwean. Because remember, this is happening in the ruling party. Some of you folks, you are having, an interest in this thing because the ruling party, because it is the ruling party. It is not like some war that is happening, in the MDC between Douglas Monzora and Baba Abrahama. That you can say, varungotamba zvavo kutungana kwembudzi ndenge kuri kuitika uko. But here you're talking about, I was speaking, to one person who was saying, but uncle, when you're looking at this, can you not look at this and see this from this perspective? Yekuti mumwe ari kuti aiwa iwo wakadyawo for 5 years. Let me come in and eat go for 5 years. I've got my people that want to eat. You have got your people they are eating. But the way that you are eating, you are finishing, the national cake. Why not allow me to come in and start to eat all as well and make sure that I eat all zvinoenderana nawo sekudyawo kwamaita. Is that how you're saying this? Because that is, the power struggle angle. You cannot, argue against that. In 2017, if you look at what happened after 2017, you find in good our power they are ending corruption. What we are now ending up having is a cabal, an elite that is living tatata at the expense of the Zimbabwean people. So these functional wars in ZANU-PF should not be functional wars that you guys have an interest in, or or even contemplate on joining either one of the factions, because it is all about them trying to position themselves. Kutinina want to eat the national cake. I want to eat, the national cake. We are than Sanda Guta eating the national cake. I haven't even begun eating, the national cake. I want to come in. Is that what we're talking about here? Or there is a genuine concern, or there is a Damascus moment that is hit, this other faction, because this other faction is the one responsible for ushering in, this individual. So maybe maybe they've seen, the light, and they want to do right by the Zimbabwean people by kugadzirisa zvavakaita zvakaita kuti tive patiri. Maybe the sincerity, on their part. They've realized that when we went into this thing, we never thought that, we could be talking about few individuals milking, the country to the tune of US 3.2 billion, dollars. We never thought of that. But now we are witnessing, this. What we want is we want to do, we want, to make this right. We want to go back to the Zimbabwean people and say, we are sorry. We want to make this right. But give us the opportunity to make this right. Is this something, that, you're prepared to do? I'm not saying people don't go. But, by all means, go to the 17th. By all means, go there. Like what Marcy said, if you are violated, I will support you. I'll even open up a space and talk about the violation that is going to be happening on the 17th. Because you would have made a decision underpinned by your conscience and what you believe is the right thing, and also your right to be part and parcel of a demonstration. Go out there, make up the numbers, go out there, be counted, make up the numbers, make your voice be heard. You might not be shouting at the top of your lungs, but by you being there, it's a voice that is added to whatever it is that is going to be happening on the 17th. I'm just saying, let us look at the similarities here and the differences here. Can we then go out and say, nah, we cannot do this in 2025 because 2017, the soldiers, a dummy? Or there's something that is now fundamental in 2025 that people cannot afford to, to just keep a blind eye to this. People would really need to think hard about this because the circumstances are now different. These two periods are not comparable. You cannot compare these two periods. Is that where we are, ladies and gentlemen? Is that the situation? Anyway, ndorwadziwa ndingenipaura amene utizo ningi ndakaroiwa here amazazvo zvacho zvinongotizo pamwe uchingoswera uchishamarara uchiroiwa futi uchiita sei uzonzirwa ane covid wakaita sei. But anyway, ndagumira pano ndokupeiwa mukana wokuti tiuye tikurukure nyaya iyi semaonero enyu imimi. Maperiods mairi aya, can we compare them? Kana mune comparison yenyu muinayo, make that comparison, your analysis, and then give us your recommendation as to what do you believe then is the way forward. Do your analysis, do your evaluation, and give us a recommendation. To say, but they've been weighed this, they've been looked at this, they've been looked at that, they've been looked at that. I think this time around is important. People need, to hear, the call. People need to be out there, be part and parcel, of this thing. Because the issue that is here is bigger than what was there in 2017. Because here we're talking about the mutilation of our Zimbabwean constitution. Back then, it was just a power struggle between two competing, forces within ZANU-PF. And this is why they did what they did and said that will just invoke our ZANU-PF, constitution and will give you a new leader. Is this the same thing, that is going to be happening, this time around? Or maybe we'll not even get there where ZANU-PF can be allowed to dictate what then happens if indeed something happens on the 17th of October. Are we being sold a dummy? Is it a power struggle? Is it somebody angling for their opportunity not to eat? Those are the big questions. Or you are saying our constitution is sacred. We cannot allow this to be mutilated. And hence, our people must stand up and be counted. Our people must stand up and go there on the 17th and be part and parcel of that history. Anyway, Patawe FM, Magadi Magadi.
Ah, yes, Baba Makadeko.
Dakasimba Magasimba Omkoma Kurise wa Muriko.
Ah, good right. Ah, no, ma. Thank you very much for the synopsis, Yamapa. What a brilliant summary of the events that happened in 2017. You reminded us of things that some of us had already forgotten. Thank you so very much. And what you are saying is very relevant. But I'm not going to focus on the demonstrations. I don't have hope in them. I'm going to say something that I felt you missed in your analysis of the current situation, where we are at the moment. And for me, what worries me the most, zvatati singaoni kumashure kunana 2017 and zvichidzira, was the influx of the Chinese people and their dominance in our economy, and even to a point where they are becoming untouchables. For me, that's a cause for very much, that's my greatest worry. And with it, you see destruction of the destruction of our environment, the pollution of the air, the pollution of our water bodies, and the kind of mining that is taking place now is very much free for all. No making sure that no checks and balances to make sure that things are done in an orderly manner, in a manner that is that really puts the nature also at the center. And if you want to analyze this situation, you realize that our wildlife is very much in danger. We have endangered wildlife right now, given this kind of free for all type of mining, and it has become a danger for people's animals and mukau dzomsango. Now, even for people to move around, it's now you don't know where your next feet will go. Perhaps you're getting down there by just the wrong foot. And if you look at the Shurugwi situation, you realize that even the road is now a very dangerous thing. And that's worries me so much. And it gives me sleepless nights thinking about why this kind of situation could be tolerated in a country such as Zimbabwe. And I go back into 2017. I look at the events of 2017. I also see a situation where we had generally a greater consensus. There was a consensus among the people, among all groups, to say it's time the president leave power. But when I look at the current situation that we are in at the moment, I see a situation yokuti wangosumudza musoro chete vari kumutenga, uri kutotengwa. So the corruption is so much that very few people could raise their voices, because the key is to make sure that people are silenced by hook and crook. And that's something very sad. Tichitarisira kuti tikaimba huyo hwedu huya kuti nenzera dzamasoja hadzo kudzogozvebata nadzo, that song should be respected. And what it says there should always be at the back of every politician. And I wonder what sort of comrades we have, especially when I look at some of our liberation war heroes or liberators. Because when you look at what you are just describing, it shows indiscipline. If we had a structure, we have a constitution, and we have agreed 2 terms and you leave power, let that be respected. I don't really care. President Mnangagwa has done so much positive things for Zimbabwe. We thank him very much for that. But it's time to go. When the constitution says rest, may he be honorable enough to take his rest and allow the country to be led by somebody else. Because for me, that's the discipline. They will show us that we went to war, we were disciplined. We want to see that kind of discipline they showed during the liberation, being the discipline that actually guides our nation and guides how we do our politics. But when you look at Mugabe and how he ended up power, when you look at what's happening, you really wonder kuti mamune discipline here mudare rechimurenga maihwewo kana kuti ainguva yekutaimirana, and that's a cause for worry. And I think, and then I look at the sacrifice that was made by the cadres who removed President Mugabe. They could have grabbed that power. They had the chance to grab the power, but they respected zvamamuchitaura zve1979 kuti they looked at who is best fitted to get into this position, and they followed that. Ndiani asingadi simba naye, and we want to salute Masoja, especially Vice President Vachiwenga, for being gentlemen like that, to say, no, it's not my turn. Let me give to my senior. And I get, it disturbs me to see the selfishness that is now being showed by the President Mnangagwa, who actually benefited from that graciousness that was extended to him by the Vice President Chiwenga. And I feel personally, ZANU-PF cannot succeed and will not succeed if they don't respect that gentleman agreement they made during that time. And whoever might contemplate or think of taking power by hook and crook, I think the challenge will be enormous. I think I would advise that person not to dare do that. Not because I'm into politics, no. I'm not affiliated to any political party, but I see chaos coming his way or away, whoever takes over from this man, if he is not the current vice president. And I will also say the vice president made his good share of mistakes, especially at the beginning. The way he approached the things, Minister of Health, and the way he was dictating things, and the way he was dealing with the health sector, was very left many doubting his leadership qualities. But
Absolutely.
I think the man has evolved. And even if you look at the way he now speaks or presents himself, there's a lot that has changed about that man. And I think it's only right that he gets a chance to lead our country. And I am saying the gentleman agreement that was made must be respected.
Right.
And we must have a culture yekuti ngati nguva yekane culture yekungoti ayo nguva yako yakwana chiedza woenda vamwe wopindawo kakwete zvatakuona zvakuitwa ava vari kuchemera vari kumativi. Of course tine zvimwanana zvezvingokura zviri kuseruko, but
Right.
the president must respect the will of the people and the constitution and step down and allow another to take over. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And this message. Uncle, my network is playing up. What I wanted to say is, if what happened in 2017 was not a coup, and was in the best interest of Zimbabwe, and Mugabe was removed by the people as ZANU-PF and Warakashi claims, then the people of Zimbabwe should also be allowed to force ED to resign or go without elections, just like what they always, tell us. They should be the best why citizens allowed to go in the street, otherwise they did a coup. So, this, contributor is saying that if what happened in 2017 was to restore this legacy, and make sure that, or it was a people's choice, or if it was the will of the Zimbabwean people. And if this time around, the will of the Zimbabwean people is saying Emerson Mnangagwa must go, then surely that must be honored. Because you can't honor it in 2017, and then you tell us, good, money. But we did it. So, zvainaka zviri kuashuga. Nhasi unomu akuti kwangu ndikudiki. Hamusi kuonawo kuti zvazvo kunyazvoitika here ipapo. But anyway, regai tiende kuna Ningi Madrax. Madrax, how are you doing?
Uncle Jed, can you give the next speaker? I'm walking.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
Right, Douglas. Right. Douglas Shumba, how are you?
Uncle, did you say?
Abana pamuri sei.
Nice. Ufambe Roma.
Aiwa ati bo amene kwamuriko.
Ndimunadzo nyaya dzeZimbabwe.
Aiwa regai timbodzipusha timuona kuti izvo pane patingasvikeri.
Yeah, paripo, we'll get there because we are having a conversation. So we'll get there. The challenge that we see, that I see what we are facing is that maybe one thing that is missing now in 2025 that was there in 2017 is that one, the people who were calling for mass demonstrations, or the people who were at the forefront, or the people who were advocating for removal of the criminals around the president, they knew what they were going to do after the criminals were removed.
Right.
They knew that if we remove these criminals, we are going to move in this direction. We are going to call in Emerson Mnangagwa. We are going to dishonor our honor, the promise that we had made to the opposition. We are going to do this to them. They knew what was happening. Us Zimbabweans in the opposition, we knew nothing. But now, the people who are calling for us for the demonstrations, who are calling that let us do something, they are calling us to come into the streets. It's fair and fine, but I don't think, Uncle Jay, I'm not right, but I'm just thinking, I don't think they have a plan of action if Zimbabweans come in their millions and walk the streets of Harare. I don't think they've made necessary plans, because when we went into the streets on the 17th of August in 2017, we actually knew what we were doing and who was supposed to come and who was coming. But on the 17th, that is being called now, if we go into the streets, I'm not convinced that Geza and his team of bakers have a clear plan as to what they are going to do with the people who come to the streets. So that is one of the greatest challenges that I see, even if we want to be part of this thing. You know, because 2017 taught us a lesson. So we are looking and say, okay, if we go to the streets, what is going to happen next? But I tell you what's going to happen next if we go to the street. The same things, the same gallery will play that, no, this thing is a ZANU-PF thing. There's never a time that ZANU-PF has made a decision or has made decisions that benefit Zimbabweans, not its leaders. There's never been a time that they made those decisions. Whatever decision that ZANU-PF makes Angojet is to benefit its leadership. If people benefit, it's extras, but the intended beneficiary of whatever decision that ZANU-PF makes is ZANU-PF leadership. That much I've seen happening, and it will continue to happen as long as we've got ZANU-PF in power. Okay, we were saying in 2017, at least they did not mutilate the constitution, but I still maintain that the constitution was butchered in 2017 because Mugabe left unceremoniously. So it's still the same thing that we are butchering the constitution. Maybe this time it's going to be a more dangerous butchering than what happened in 2017, but it's still the same thing. We are butchering the constitution as Zimbabwe. So personally, my own personal assessment now is just I'll just sit at home, see what they do in ZANU-PF. And the greatest disadvantage that we have now, painful as it is for me to say it, I will just say it, is that ZANU-PF has presented the opposition with a very good advantage now to act. ZANU-PF has done everything in its power to give arsenal to the opposition. ZANU-PF is openly saying we want to butcher the constitution. ZANU-PF is openly saying we can do anything possible to retain power. So it has given the opposition enough arsenal to actually oppose and actually fight it back. But unfortunately, the opposition is just silent about it. ZANU-PF is saying this every day that we are going to butcher the constitution. Instead of people in the opposition to actually push back daily day and night, and even in the morning, and say, guys, this is wrong. They have gone silent. So this is the tragedy and unfortunate situation that we have found ourselves in Zimbabwe. But I'll just say in conclusion, Angujen, nothing has changed. The situation that was there, like you gave a very good preamble. What was happening in 2017, the criminals, the unjust, everything is the same. It could have, it is even up more now. It's more serious now. We have got more criminals surrounding the president than we had before. We have got a rogue president in power, as described by Jelas Mawari, that the president is gone wrong in power than we had 2017. But in all essence, this is just a ZANU-PF thing. Nothing to do with the Zimbabweans and nothing to do with the countries. ZANU-PF power struggle. It was Gamma talks. It was G4. What. It's still the same now. Geza versus AD and these Ganandas. Nothing to do with Zimbabwe. Angujeda. Many thanks.
All right, thank you very much for that. I do appreciate Chatenda. What do you say?
Maneru Uncle Gerard.
What do you say?
Tinomboita tichitora mabefu tichimboteerera vamwe zvinhu zvachona zvinoda kuti umbotora befu umbodhaigresa nekudhaijesta kuti zvinenge zvichibva nekupi zvichienda nekupi and what is the bigger picture. Manyatsopa well detailed analysis iri clear inofanira kuti equipa on making my right choices that are for Zimbabwe, not for individuals. Learning from the mistakes or being duped again. On the basis, learning from the mistakes or being duped again or be remaining idle, then we see the West. Saka pane zvinhu zviri 3. Bora ango Gerard kana munotamba bora rine 3 results. Those are two confrontana nazvo. Win, draw, lose. Bora rimbopere risina results. Azviite. Rinototipa results. Either we are sharing points, either the other one is taking 3 points, or the other one is losing points. Makajiwa today, next time ground. Which is currently in this case, since Gezapa akatanga muna March, could preach the gospel of rising against Mnangagwa. The opposition leaders, because the opposition, which is the people who are the opposition to what is happening, be it the opposition in ZANU-PF and opposition outside like myself. I will repeat, I will never be a ZANU-PF member for my own personal reasons, but I will always be loyal to Zimbabwe. Very loyal to Zimbabwe and the interest of Zimbabwe at heart. But I cannot allow kuti dai vanhu vakarwira nyika ango Gerard pakarohwa Chimoyo Masaka neNyadzonya vakati parohero vataito paChimoya ina ndichade hondoda kuenda kumba. Dai takaona rusununguko here. Rusununguko ratinaro senyika iroro rwakauya through negotiation and fighting. Arina kuuya through negotiating then fighting iridos yakarara. It had 2 fronts fighting on the other end and kuchitaurwa nekuside until a consensus was reached in 1979. If my memory serves me right. Saka dai vanhu ivavo vakasacrifice kuramba vachienda nehondo pavairohwa munhu achiona kuti bhuru wangu arohwa afa oti dai aiwa ndabhorega ndidzokere kumba, would we have been free? Yes, 2017 the worst nightmare that happened was that our leaders in the opposition, they did a gentleman agreement with ZANU-PF and failed to have a written agreement that could have been taken to any court, even regionally or otherwise, because they sat with the individual who is now a problem. So if people vakada pinpoint a challenge, we can also address to say whoever was in the opposition is the leadership. To the last one, Vangavari leading my opposition who were part and parcel of the agreement are the people that have put us in this problem, aligned with the army for a decision that they made. Zvayo zviri bheta kadai takangosiya Mugabe akafa, and zvayo zviri bheta takaona if Grace aizoleader nyika. If kana tiri vanhu vanodhila nema if and the past, where would the past take us? Ndakashandisa example yeBible, ndichaishandisa kusvika because kune vanoshandisa Bible. Even speakers anenge achitaura kuti Mwari tinomuda ende Mwari ndiye anotipa wisdom tese kuti tizoshandisa wisdom yaakatipa in our individual capacity to think and to see the broader picture. Damascus moment yapo from Saul. Why can't it be a Damascus moment for Zimbabwe now? That Chiwenga will never be a saint. And I will repeat, he is not a saint. And there are no saints in politics. People, they can come and preach and speak to us nicely, but what do they do behind our scenes? There is a lot. Kungava kuba mari, kungava kuita abuse of power vakadzi vanhu or kuuraya vanhu. It makes you not to be an ethical leader. So, handina wandopointa, but pasave nevanhu vanonzi ava ndo vari more holier than thee in terms of leading the struggle of Zimbabwe, and we cannot continue to mourn over spilled milk. Uncle Gerard zvinozonakidza here kuti tochiti aiwa tasiya zvageza izvi zvaramba, toramba edu takamira. Come 2027 takutanga ita preparation yema elections. Uncle Gerard, and the ZANU-PF will give us those elections and the outcome will be the same, because currently zekine ma-commissioners mangani amunonyatsoziva kuti uyu mwana wanhengi uyu irelative yanhengi uyu, uyu ndiwe kwamahadhu, uyu ndiwe kwamangwana. Would they give us my elections anotipa a result yatiri kuda? Rather than to say we fold our hands, let the citizens rise in numbers and say no, we no longer want whatever you are bringing. Isusu ticharamba tiri muma streets like what they did in Madagascar. They didn't do it for one day. It happened for over 2 to 3 weeks. Vachipa pressure until army yazoona people are not changing their position. In Nepal, they took 4 days, 3-4 days to clean up and remove. Why can't we capitalize on a situation that is in front of us? Because even vamwe vanofamba through madhoze opposition, kune vari kutotaura the language iri kutaurwawo nemazimbabwezi vari pasi. But the third part, zvinogara zvichitaura vanhu kuti isusu vanhu vanouya pamaspace panapa, most of us we are comfortable. We are very comfortable. I myself, I can just keep quiet about Zimbabwe and live my life here nevana vangu. Ndinavo vana vangu 3 nemukadzi wangu. I don't have a problem. Now, my mother and a few family members. But I worry of other family members that are there, that I have to think of kuti havana opportunity yekuti vaite live a sober and a meaningful life, because systems are not favorable to everyone. Rome was not built in one day. Uncle Gerard. Roma inavakwa ne one day. It came through a lot of chopping and changing. Zvimwe zvidona zvima buildings kusvika Rome yazomira, or the Roman Empire yazomira. Takada kushandisa both the Rome, the city, or the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire yakazofall, but the city still stands. Dai yanga isina kurwadziwa neprocess yekunge ichiitwa zvayaitwa zvakangofanana nediamond. Before you see a diamond shine, it goes through a rigorous process. Yes, we need to be patient in terms of vanobhilivha kuti we will go through the democratic process yeX. That process will come if we continue to refine what is happening right now in the current status quo. Kuti patinozosvika that end, the system iyo inenge yaperawo, even maybe muma military ranks. People should be considerate. Tina Mnangagwa nemwana ari kumilitary. Tisingangotarise one side the three arms of the state. Iye Mnangagwa ari uko kugovernment. Ane mwana anogara ari paari waari kuprepare. Nevamwe marelatives akari mumaranks emilitary nemain-laws. Kuti vanyatsochibata kuti dzvii, then panoita chance yekuti vanhu munge muchikwanisa kuzvipfumvunura kubvisa kana wakadzipwa wombowana ka breathing space. We are saying because hasi kutaurwa or hasi kutaura language yatiri kuda isusu, because the language iri kutaura ZANU-PF politics. Vanhu vari muZimbabwe takafambisa approach yekuti takati kana pane chance inotipawo egap rekufema ka toisiya ka, vanhu vacharamba vakadzvanyiwa, and the country things will go from bad to worse. And whatever is happening, a failure the push iri kuitwa, and muchaona kuti ana weakness they will rub it in people's faces and show kuti Zvigananda are in charge nezvavachaita after that. And I dare to tell you that it will happen. But I'm Tatenda. I'm not the 16 million citizens of Zimbabwe. My opinion is to encourage those that feel the heat that 2028 and 2030 are inevitable. And to those that believe that 2030 and 2028 are inevitable, angori mamyth atiri kutaura vanhu vanogona zvavo kungosiya vongozvitarisawo vongoti aiwa ewo tiri kukuonai tiri kumateresi sezvo zvakataurwa. Tine former groups, indeed former groups, vanoti pro Mnangagwa, pro Chiwenga, pro Mukomana, nevakangomirawo vasiri kuzoti voti chii, vanenge vari mumateresi vachaita audience. But those that are supporting what needs to be done doesn't mean that they believe in ZANU-PF. I don't believe in ZANU-PF and I'll never believe in ZANU-PF, but I believe in Zimbabwe and what is best for Zimbabwe. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much for that, Tatenda. I do appreciate. Right. Can I bring in Tubo into the conversation? Mwise, more from right.
I'm okay.
No, it's not.
Yeah, inini panoda kubvunza mumazimbabwe mimi mabenefits ecoup akufanwa kuperera papi? Mabenefits awakaita these two gentlemen Chiwenga and the ED, toda kuziva paanoperera kuti coup ya2017 inoperera apa, mabenefits ava anoperera apa. Because what Chiwenga is saying, whatever they agreed on, vanhu vakatengeserana manje dzavo, saka 2025 vadangoramba vachiputa mbanje idzodzo chete. That should come to an end. So Chiwenga, what Chiwenga is saying, guys, is totally rubbish. Complete rubbish. I would like that iye kana iyo hadzirizi nemudenga munhu. Zvavakawirirana vari 2 ndoda kuti ndingazvitonge nyika yese. Vanhu 2 vakangowirana. Guys, does that make sense? Angojeti tikawirana kuti ngatini chakaipa imombopindawo 10 years kana 10 years dzapera mofa uzopindawo just because taita coup. Saka toti nyika iyoyo Chiwenga akutaura kuti haafunge, ende dai akatoramba akatovharirwa panze, ndokuti mafungiro akaura kuti haasi kurizina, haasi kuisa zvido zvemazimbabweans pamberi, ari kuda kuisa zvido zvake zvekuu, akadii kubhenefita musi wachona iwowo kana anga ari munhu akarongeka mudenga. So which means kana dzikakwanawo dzake 10 years achaita futi imwe agreement nasambody, then bhandi rekuu rongoramba richingokontinha. Dai SB umwe yanga aripo aiti guys ndakaitawo saka chindipaiwo dzimwe 10 years dzangu. Does that make sense? So ko amwe ese mazimbabweans here. And I hate munhu anofunga nementality yachiwenga yaya. I hate vanhu vanofunga mafungiro akadaro. Bhandi rekuu it should come to an end. So ma-elections aya tanga tichaitire chi kana mimi makaita in agreement yenyu if wangeni ngori continuous. Saka vanhu vese vangu vari mukuru they should benefit to sit on that seat kusvika vese vapera, ende vachaperera papi? But mafungiro akadaro sano, I don't know, it's just primitive. I think ndo vanhu vakakura kuna nawedza uko
Fera ndinozokuudza vanhu.
ya ndokumusha kwangu zva, but kuna vanhu vanokurira ikoko kuti kana ndege yakuya vanoitsambukira. But mafungiro achona areve chinhu haisi nhaka kayekwa chiwenga nekwa Munangagwa. Zimbabwe haisi nhaka iyi. Munhu wese ngaangopiwa an open area, uda kuzouya uzopindawo pindawo, akundikanawo. That coup inofanira kusvika painoperera guys, nokuti vana vedu vachatobarwa vakabarawo zvichingonzi bhandi rekuu ngaribenefit. Koziyawo na Emerson Junior vanenge vakuti baba vedu vakachimhanyawo, saka inini ndinofanira chindipaiwo mabenefits achona, saka rinoperera pabhandi rekuu. Chiwenga kana ari munhu ari pachokwadi ende akuda kubata tuma small fish utu tunana, not right now ana kuda koya wamunoti ana Scott ana Wicknell wangu right now pamira kana Zimbabwe, these are small fishes. Nekuti zvinhu zvikaipa kune kwavanomhanyira kunoti vanoprotectwa, and tese tiri kuziva kwavanomhanyira. Tagirei akati zvaipa izvi zvanenge kuti handi yekukoti, Wicknell akati zvaipa anenge kuti handi yekukoti, nokuti kukoti kumwe ndokune defense yerast number, ndokunovharwa makasa acho ese kukoti kwekwe. Chiwenga ngaanange corruption yekukoti, toziva kuti akutaura izvinezvi. Chiwenga ngaanange corruption yekuna Malaba zvakapiwa dzimwe 2 years kwanga kuine covid, ngaatanga kutaura corruption iri ikoko first, toziva kuti yes ine zvinhu ndaakutaura. But akana akuti ana Tagirei ana Chivhayo vaingozikanwa even mugaba madhesi panga aripo, ngaatitaurire corruption iri kukoti kwakamira sei, zvigananda zviri kukoti kwaigona zvakamira sei, majudges ayaya, toziva kuti akutaura munhu. But kana achitaura zvako zvokunanga naizvo, ngavamuvharire panze, ngavatomuvhara dhoo, kuvhara dhoo kuti ngaasapinda, because haazviratidza kufunga. Chiwenga kana aikuya ezvinezvi achida kuti vanhu vese vezimbabwe toziva kuti akutaura achinangana navanhu vezimbabwe. 2018 happened, he was there. 2023 it happened, he was there. Akatora zvekoti otitaurira these 2 elections idzi kuti dzakamira sei, kuti manumbers akamira sei apa. Kana ngaangotiudza manumbers aED emuHarare, otiudza ekumasvingo, otiudza uko, toziva kuti akutaura chokwadi. Nokuti sanda kunonzi kutedza mutemo wacho wese. Kana pakaiswa macommandments aya 10 ayaya, ukatyora 1 watyora macommandments acho ese, ndo mafambiro anoita constitution yedu yemuzimbabwe. Haungade kuchiudza kuti ndoteerera izvi ndoteerera, woramba uchingoti ndotedza constitution. Saka Chiwenga, aiwa guys, ameno vada kumusapota, but I will bet it's gonna be 10 times fold that what we have seen with this idiot in power. It will be worse. Nokuti atadza kuziva kuti chinonzi kutedzera constitution chii. You cannot pick and choose. Malaba akapiwa 10 years, dzimwe 2 years dziya. Chiwenga, he kept quiet. ED auda kusiwa dzimwe 2 years, now he wanna start to challenge. So what sort of a man is he? vanhu vakadaro hatiwadi mazimbabwe. I don't know tsano ndo maonero angu kana wina wandabata-bata I'm sorry but taipana chiwenga kana usabhuku munin'ina wako akataura wani kuti usabhuku yachaiwo haatofa kuti you wonder kuti akagara sei since 2000 up to 2017 as an army general. You wonder kurarama neraki haana kana maqualities achona. Even West being a father haana maqualities achona.
Right.
Guys, sometimes zvinongorwadza but mazimbabweans munotambira zvakapusa kudaro dai zvachangovharana but it's gonna be a long week until Friday.
Mm.
Yeah, tichaona madhaizi anenge achimuvhwa mamuvhu acho takamira sei. It's gonna be a long week.
Right. Ah,
But nice one off. Thank you.
ndinotenda Thanos. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, vakwigwi. Right. Regai munzwa kuna mukoma Masirio. Zviri sei.
Wangu maswera sei kwangu?
Ah, bana bakuri seiko.
Kuno kuri bo.
Andiri.
Yeah. Amenoti vadare vaswera here mucomment section umu vari kupa comment.
Yeah, timu tinaro.
Yeah. So angomuona kuti nhau iri apa. Inini chinhu chandakaita ndofunga ndakambotaura kumashure uko kuti problem yatinoita mazimbabweni tinoda tichibatsira nyaya painenge yasvika ndopatinofokusa napo. Kuti tironde nhau iyi kubva kumashure kuti yakatangira papi, problem yedu yakatangira papi, hatitarise. Ndonzwa mazimbabweni achitaurwa nepaper 2. Actually 2025 we won't be paper 2, it will be paper 3, because if we were in politics before 2009 February GNU, you would find out kuti that GNU again kwanga kuri kushandiswa kweopposition. Everything that was there, opposition was used because ZANU-PF was almost gone in 2008. I was in Zimbabwe in 2008. Ndichida kutora mari paZB Bank. Panga pane masoja anga ari muline. Pakauya mamwe masoja achirova mamwe masoja kuti bvai panapo. So it was now a internal fight because masoja airova mamwe masoja anga ari presidential guard achirova mamwe masoja venhingirina common soldiers vachirovawo. So those guys were fighting. Nyika yasvika pairi papa. ZANU-PF was fighting. ZANU-PF was cracking. And they even went kumba kwa Gono vachidimanda mari ichinetsa tinoda mari yedu. So nyika yasvika ipapo ZANU-PF yakabva yainclina kuda kuteerera tsvangirai, vakabva varopa in vakadhonza MDC vakagadzirisa economy 2008. 2013 vakati vakaona kuti economy yastable vabva vashedzera kuti government of national unity yafira pano, maelection obva auya tobva tarohwa futi kumabhesi, ZANU-PF bva yaretena power. The same thing happened in 2017, but now this one was a little bit different. Vari kurwa pachavo, vari kumusoro now, because before 2013, 2008, 2009 vairwiswa nevadiki. The juniors were fighting vari kumusoro. But now 2017 it was fight yevari kumusoro. So vari kumusoro 2017 they were fighting on their own. Vachirwisana ivo pachavo muZANU-PF. Again, our leaders in the opposition havana kugara pasi kuti vaone zvakanaka kuti okay, vanhu vedu tikunovaudza kuti chinhu ichi ndechipi, because from the word go ndogara achitaura inini kuti 2017 hatina kushandiswa, takazvishandisa because we went there fully aware kuti tikunodefenda kudzinga kwaMnangagwa. We went there fully aware tikunoisa leader within ZANU-PF. This was 2017. Taitoziva kuti leader watiri kunoisa ndewe ZANU-PF. It was nothing, it had nothing to do with national, it was just a ZANU-PF thing. Now coming to 2025 now, we are faced with a situation that is similar in character, but different altogether. It's similar because again, it is a ZANU-PF factional fight, but now it's spilling to the national interests. That is the constitution. ED and Chiwenga, they are fighting for their own share or their own cake. But at the same time, they are threatening our national interests as Zimbabweans. Like it or not, when ZANU-PF comes into power and are declared winner through an election, like what happened in 2023, we all became ZANU-PF. at that very moment. President anenge atoo president wenyika yese, asisiri president opposition. We might have our preferred opposition president, we might have our own independent preferred president, but EG leading Zimbabwe is our president altogether. And whatever decision that he makes in ZANU-PF can affect us all as a nation, like what it is happening, like what is happening now. Every decision that is made in ZANU-PF comes back to us as Zimbabweans. Every decision made in ZANU, because they are the ruling party, whether you like it or not. Vakangomuka vakaswedzera kuti okay, toda kuti tofi riende $5, like what they did. From $1 vakangomuka vachiti toda tofi riende $3. That happened. From registration yecar yemota vakangoti from 500 toda kuti tiende $50. It happened, and that is there. So vakangomuka nhasi vachichedzera kuti hatichada opposition munyika. We won't see an opposition munyika. Like what is happening now. Coincidentally, Chiwenga amira kuside kweconstitution, because if Chiwenga comes in, kuroti constitution haichaparadzwa. If Chiwenga doesn't comes in, kuroti constitution yenyika yakuparadzwa. Inini personally, if it was all about Emerson Mnangagwa and Chiwenga, I wouldn't even talk about it. I was not going to be even there. But the biggest problem is that these guys, Daniel Garwe is on record saying constitution dead, tisi vanhu vacho tonoibvarura tonyora zvatinoda. Okay, vabvarura constitution vanyora zvavanoda, ED ngapinde 2030. What is it that is going to stop ED from appointing the next president and picking the next president from coming in? Because those that helped ED in 2017, they were unalived, all of them, save for one or two, Asana Nasanya Twinana Chwenga. The second thing, those that are fighting for ED to go in 2030, again, they will be unalived so that he can easily handpick whom he wants. But okay, because the guy doesn't want to be challenged. He doesn't need challengers. So it's most probably that if he gets to 2030, we are going to go again for funerals. Anodona funerals achuya. Because what I see here, I see a man who is greedy. I see a man who wants to hold power at all costs. Because he is quiet, not talking about 2030 like he doesn't want it. But once it's given to him, once they give it to him, everything, it's game over. This is why my opposition leaders are in parliament. They don't care. Because my position never to that they are safe once ED happened. Because now 2025, it's not about Chiwenga. 2025 has never been about Chiwenga. 17th of October is not about Chiwenga. If you sit down and look it closely, it's about ED. Those that are supporting, I heard someone saying there are 4 groups. Those that are supporting Chamisa, those that are supporting ED, and those that are supporting Chiwenga, and others are on the fence, I don't know. But actually we have 2 groups. Those that are supporting ED and those that are defending the constitution. If you say, okay, for me, I'm waiting for President Nelson Chamisa to come, for example. Okay, you're waiting for President Nelson Chamisa to come. You don't have anything to do with what is happening on the 17th. Fair and fine. We are not going to ask you why, because we know exactly what you are waiting for. You are waiting for 2028. Chiwenga obva akundwa na ED. Chiwenga obva awina pa constitution. ED obva awina constitution. Obva move a motion parliament. Obva agadzirwa parliament. Obva amendwa constitution. Obva anzi infinity president. Anogara kusvika afa. Paanenge afa ndo paanobva. Vanoisa zvavanoda. ED achagara kusvika afa. Yamendwa constitution. Which means 2028 we don't have election. Chamisa will be around 50 years of age. 2035 Chamisa will be around 55 years of age. No more election. ED yako endobva ati Shoni mwanangu. Panaru anongouya naye mupolitburo ngoti pana ari kupikisa nhere kuti Shoni aite next president. Hapana anopikisa because they are already bootlickers. Because he now maintains the power. In 2017, Chiwenga lifted the constitution and said, I'm protecting the constitution from Zigananda and everyone else. In 2025, 2030, ED will be lifting the constitution saying, I am leading because the constitution allows me to lead. And no one is going to do anything, not even the soldiers. Because once the constitution is amended, the soldiers must be loyal to the constitution. And that constitution says the president will be there until he retires on his own. So the soldiers are forced to protect the constitution. And ED will come with the constitution and say, you guys amended the constitution in 2026 to say that I should lead. Why now you want to force me out? The soldiers must protect me. And they will protect him because they swear to save the constitution. So this issue now, for 2017, it was strictly ZANU-PF because no national constitution was amended, no national constitution was talked about. It was simply within ZANU-PF. But in 2025, it's affecting every one of us. Every Tom and Dick is being affected. Apana zvekunzi hanzi ndechachiwenga chinhu ichi kana kuti ndechamunangagwa chinhu. Because once Mnangagwa achinja constitution, okay, if he succeeded, personally, I'm willing to say, okay, I don't talk about politics anymore. Ndakungoziva ndiri kurarama ndiri kuSwaziland. Ndiri zvakangofanana nekuswaziland kune monarchy ndo zvinenge zvatopo, because ukataura politics after Idi yachinja constitution, one thing is sure, you will die, because right now this is what they want. So likening 2017 to 2025 is not a true reflection of what is on the ground, because in 2017 no constitution was tampered with. In 2025 it will be mutilated, butchered, slain. So I don't know, but for me, I would just say, okay, let's go in the streets and defend the constitution, not Chiwenga. We're defending the constitution because this is not about Chiwenga. Because if we don't defend the constitution, we are in deep trouble that we won't find ourselves out again. We will remain forever there. And this is a fact. Whether you choose to believe it, bash it, or otherwise, but it's a fact. Once 2025 constitution amendment goes on and succeed, then it's done. For me, for you, for Chamisa, for fence sitters, for everyone. Only Zigananda and ED will be happy. So the choice is yours, guys. The choice is yours. But this is a fact. Whether you choose to bash it, you choose to ignore it.
Topic we're discussing.
That's it. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much for that. I do appreciate. Right. I just want to play, this audio and then to Fambira Berry. Political consultancy firms that are led by some Zimbabweans who ostensibly on the outside appear to be democratic individuals. And they are pushing now. They are the ones now pushing in and advising the Zimbabwe parliament on how to implement the legally unimplementable resolution number 1. And this is being done by some organization that is called the HICAMO, which is registered in South Africa. And that organization is actually contracted Professor Jonathan Moyo to smuggle in a document to Parliament, purporting that this document contains the sentiments that are coming from the people. And those sentiments are supposed to push an agenda. They are supposed to push a motion in Parliament, which is called the Breaking of Barriers Initiative.
This is supposed to be some leaked document. Talk us through that document, and what are the key takeaways that as you were going through it that you would like to share with us today, and what we can expect from that particular document, should any of them be implemented at all?
That document talks about, it's an attempt actually to legally, so to speak, extend the president's term of office by amending Section 92 of the Constitution. Section 92 of the Constitution talks about the president being directly elected by all the people, all the registered voters in Zimbabwe. So the repeal of Section 92, which is being pushed by that document, would then end in a situation where the president will be elected only by Parliament. So the MPs are the ones that will sit and elect a president. So the thinking is that if that constitutional amendment goes through, it has the legal effect of ending the president's term, current term. And the drafters of that document anticipated that the document will be fully functional by the 22nd of December this year.
Okay, let's go back to the ending of the presidential term. Would that then happen immediately? Therefore, allowing the president to have a fresh term going forward.
Yeah, that's what they're pushing. That's what they're pushing. They are anticipating that once that constitutional change is implemented, is adopted, and ascended to by the same president, then it has the legal effect of ending his current term. And it will end the current term at 2 years, 3 months. That would not constitute a full term. So what would then follow is that from the 22nd of December 2025, the president would assume a new 5-year mandate, and that new 5-year mandate takes him to 2030. That's what it does. But it doesn't. But it also doesn't address the issue that if it ends the president's term of office, it should, by operation of law, also end the term of office of the current parliament, because the section 95 is very clear that the term of office of parliament runs coterminously with the term of office of the president. So if you end the term of office of the president, surely you should end the term of office of parliament. And in such a situation, then we should go for general elections. But the drafters of this document don't want to go for elections. They have actually proposed that they implement what they call a deeming provision. A deeming provision is a provision at law which is supposed to effect a legal fiction. It's a dishonest way of forcing illegalities on people, and these deeming provisions were normally being used by the colonial regimes.
Right. So that is what Jelasma, was talking about, to say that there's a document that was authored by Jonathan Moyo, Glenn, and this other company, and they want to smuggle this, into Parliament and make it as if it is a document that is coming, from the people, and how they want to sanitize this. If you listen to that, if you listen further to what you were saying that they didn't want to do a sort of a competition whereby they'll be giving cars to select, they'll select people that they will say they are, they are reaching out to, or they are in consultation with. It's supposed to be a public consultation, like what they do with the laws, that they give 3 months for public, consultation. But Jealous is saying that this document, the way it has been, crafted, they then handpick a loyalist, those that would then be maybe made to congregate in a community hall, and they will then pass on as the people deliberating on the proposal. But there are bribal schemes or bribing schemes that will be accompanying these processes, and at each and every gathering that is being earmarked for, there is a car that will be up for grabs. So the way that it is being done is to sort of coerce people, but these are people that would have been handpicked, or loyalists, or people that are chosen on the basis of their affiliation to the side that is angling for this term extension, or for the removal of section 50, section 92 of the Zimbabwean constitution, so that it allows Emerson Mnangagwa to end his term 2 years and 3 months, and then by then he's chosen by the parliament, which is supposed to be dissolved if section 92 goes. It then follows that parliament also goes. But he's saying that there's a way that they've devised to make sure that that does not happen, and then it is that parliament in its current composition, with Chabangu and O and the rest of the yes people in ZANU PF, they would then say, okay, we are choosing the next president for the next 5 years to be Emerson Mnangagwa. So Emerson Mnangagwa would then assume the presidents from 2025, 2026 probably, and then he takes him all the way to 2030. And if he wants to extend that, he can also extend that to 2035 is what is being said. So this document, I've not seen the document that he's referring to, so I cannot say there's a credible document that is out there, or it has been leaked. But Jealous has got a way of coming across these things. He came across the PUSB sale thing, and people said, oh, it is a lie, it is a lie, but it turned out that there was something to it. So he has probably seen this document, and that is what is in store for us, if indeed what he's saying is what these guys they want to do. And if you look at the language that Professor Moyo is using these days, it is a language that is telling you that, oh, this man he has now decided to align with these, tormentors. Maybe has been promised that, what, if you help us, if you help me, on this one, you can come back and you can be part of the family again. I'm not sure, but this is what is being said. Whether it is true or not, I have not, verified, that information. I've not seen, that document. But when you see somebody going on an interview, giving details of something of this nature and of this magnitude, I'm quite sure they've got something. And Jealous is always saying, I've got it, to back up whatever it is that I am talking about. So I've not seen the document. I cannot speak to its authenticity, but it is what he's saying. And he even said he approached the authors of this document, and they say to him, it's an old document, but we've since watered it down. Da, 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 da. But so that to me tells me that there's something to this story. There is really something to this.
Uncle, you
Yes,
might not have seen the document, but surely that interview is something else. I think you can take that as evidence from him.
yes. Yeah. So that is so I don't know. So this I heard Mkoma Wambutaura kuti the issue of the constitution was also there back then, because Mugabe was removed zvisiri pa constitution, but it wasn't as prominent as it is right now. Because if you look at what then happened, yes, even though there was pressure for Mugabe to go, but Mugabe ended up resigning, even though that letter that he wrote, I'm quite sure he wrote it under duress. Because if you remember, there was a lot of back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth discussions, cages, coming in and talking to him, etc., trying to get him, to go. So even though he resigned and the letter was read out by Mudenda, the whole country, had him reading, that letter, because it was an issue that was gripping, the whole country. So everyone was probably, glued on to their, TV sets and whatever medium that they were using to monitor or to watch what was going on, in Zimbabwe. So, it can be taken, it can be argued to say that, he resigned, and when a president, resigns, then a process kicks in, and what we ended up seeing was the process that speaks to what happens when a president goes. So ZANU-PF went back to their structures, to their central committee, to their whatever. They chose their first secretary, and that first secretary was then sworn in as the president, etc. And the story is what it is, today. So that is the. So I mean, when you listen to this, does that not give you that agency to say, what, maybe
Tichamu,
there's some, yeah, there's something
tichamu,
here that requires me to be part and parcel of the 17th. It's just a question that I'm posing.
tichamuka edu ango Gerard. Tichamuka. Because there is no man, even Krunzi Tinoza Mawarire has been pro-Chiwenga. He cannot go on an interview when he's not sitting on something.
Right.
Because he knows that whatever he is saying, if he is pushed by those guys, he has to present evidence to support.
Absolutely.
And hakuna kulika kunoita zvinhu kuSouth Africa the same way yakabuda issue yemari yeZEC ichibva nekuSouth Africa. And haina kudisputwa.
Right.
1.1 billion ema-elections. kuSouth Africa kuntori nema-investigation ari busy. Atoziva kuti ma-systems eSouth Africa, they take their time but vanozongokutora semukomana akatorwa 5 maLambogini. So inini hangu as Tatenda, as a person who reads mutemo yedu, once mutemo pango crosswa a bridge ruda kucrosswa pamutemo, the ordinary citizen munongozosara muchiungudza unless motozopinda mastreets makunoita revolt against those amendments. But people of Zimbabwe with these sorry to say, Uncle Gerard, I want to say this.
Yeah, quickly.
Munoziva kuti maZimbabwe tiri too philosophical and analytical. I think where I went and got schooled, I'm happy to the 10 years I spent in the South African education system, where I even had the chance to lead in the SRC. It trained me. When a decision is made, tinozoona ma consequences after. When we made decisions about fees must fall, I was part and parcel of that. I was in my final year as a law student. We didn't back down. Saka ndozvisimo matiri zvekuti munozotanga kuuya theory dzichibva uku left right center dzotanga manje kuconfuse vanhu. Which is not in other countries. Mayouth edzimwe nyika vakangoudzana kuti izvi ndozvatakuita. They do that, and even my leaders anotozoita sometimes kuita tag along vanhu vatoita a decision, and my youth anenge ari aggressive. Isusu tiri too philosophical. Chikoro chedu chinozotisekesa unzi munozoti makadzidza but your country is a mess. Ndo chinotipa kusvika patiripo.
Right, okay. Thank you very much. Can I bring in Mangisi Elvis into the conversation? Mangisi, how you doing? Mangisi Elvis? Mr. Elvis? Right. Mr. Elvis, mnenge msipo.
I'm around, Zaba. Well, it's fine. Thank you so much for the time and the moment. Yeah, you know, we are really on a very critical situation and point in the history of Zimbabwe. And when you look into all these issues, we are currently having a deficit of leadership from both sides, from the opposition, from the factions that are there in ZANU-PF and so forth. Because honestly speaking, when you look into all these matters, from the time Geza started talking about these issues, it has been months now. And if Chiwengwa himself was really a general, there's somebody who was saying, I doubt his credentials of being a general. Because you see, this is like a war. Politics is basically a war thing. And when you allow this matter to continuously go on, and all you can do is bring all these dossiers, whether they have been written by Jonathan Moyo, whether you are accusing Chiva and so forth, it doesn't make sense, because at the end of the day, the person who is paying for these things to happen is ED himself. ED is behind all these things. And you are an army general, you know who the culprit is. And you continuously go to beg that culprit to change the situation. The culprit will not change the situation. Right now, as we are moving to this conference, you see, what will end up happening is him being fired from ZANU-PF. And from there, now for him to start to maneuver back into the system to get the clashes on, it will be difficult. I also understand Chamisa's standpoint that 2017 we're using this kind of stuff. Let's go back to this kind of stuff. What we needed at this moment is a strategic compromise. We need to understand a lot of us have been participating in this and that. Some of us have been in ZANU-PF in the opposition. Some have received kickbacks and so forth. But in order for us to move the nation forward, it required this strategic compromise of saying, guys, in order for us to move forward, what's the best way forward? Unfortunately, when you look into all these things, the people, from long ago, the people have never been consulted. Leaders have been prescribing what the people must take. The people will never be consulted. Our elections were from 1980, where the baby back there. We have Tongo Gara who died for trying to create this strategic compromise whereby the nation could move forward as one. And at the end of the day, we ended up having Kurawundi, we ended up having the 2008 massacre of people and so forth. We ended up having the 2005 destruction of homes. And up to now, the people's homes are continuously being destroyed. The people build their homes, they get destroyed by the government, which is supposed to protect them and provide them with shelter and so forth. So at the end of the day, we begin to realize that we are in a crisis of leadership. This leadership crisis, once we move to Friday and we have this situation go beyond the end, it doesn't necessarily mean that ED will have it all the way up to 2030, 2035. That will not be the picture. Let's not teach ourselves that that is what is going to happen. What we want to see happening, yes, we want to see October 17 creating changes, but even if it doesn't create changes, we need to retrospect and ask ourselves, if we're having this situation and crisis, what the way forward? What we now need is thinking of coming up with proper strategies of saying, how do we extricate Zimbabwe from this crisis? Because even if ED and these cohorts proceed with their plans, Zimbabwe will itself become a pariah nation. When it becomes a pariah state, the very sanctions that people were fighting against, they will return again, and we are going to have a worse situation is coming for Zimbabwe. I understand that the Zimbabweans themselves, they are now too weak to fight. They are now too weak to go into the streets. Let us remember that the Zimbabweans, some went to the streets in 2018, and some people called them stupid. Some people also went into the streets again in 2019, and the people were also killed in demonstrating against this government. So at the end of the day, it's not a question of saying we're too educated, we're too philosophical. No, the Zimbabweans are not like that. They understand the situation. They want guarantees and safeguards. So at the end of the day, to close up my submission, I personally thought a transitional government of national unity should have been steamed by this moment. We should have at least that kind of agreement. We know that 2017 happened. There was no agreement with the opposition. If there were gentlemen agreements, whether people talk of Chiwengwa and Mnanga, whether people talk of ZANU-PF and MDC, there was no tangible agreement that was ever crafted to say after Mugabe goes, what is going to happen next? After Emerson comes, what is going to happen next? But we are saying we can correct these mistakes. We cannot be saying that we have learned. If we say we have learned lessons before, why can't we correct what went wrong and do a proper thing that will move us forward? Because if you cannot correct our mistakes and we suppose that things will just happen, things will just happen in 2028, in 2030. You see, guys, let's learn from our mistakes and all up. We make mistakes, we all up from the mistakes and we move forward. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, for that. Learn from our mistakes and then we move on. Right. Mkoma Lion King. Maya join abanaba conversation muda kunyazoti chicha.
Mukoma jera
I
ndiri kwa
say you conversation.
aiwa regai kutanga ndakumhorosai kana pfuma iwo kumhoroswa
Maya kunganga.
ng'anga hai
Kuno kunganga.
indiri mupostora kaina handiti zveng'anga
Kunganga mukutsvage kunganga.
handiti zveng'anga ndiri mupostora tiri wesapatina
Right. Tipewo tinzwa.
mukoma gerard namukoma titus ndofunga munofara chaizvo ndandakateerera hangu nhoroondo yamapa iya pakutanga very well articulated deno mitonyora bhuku because vanhu vese vanonyora mabhuku ka hapana munhu anonyora bhuku anenge aine customer
right.
but you get to get macustomers vanenge vachida kuzokukota nokukubhilivhawo. But ndachingotiwo kungowedzera wangu ipapo, ndine nyaya mbiri, one iri aligned to constitution one yekuzoenda kunana vachivengwa nezano. On the part of the constitution, apa ndikutobvunza hangu imi makura vamwe tarisati tazvarwa kuti we seem to be sort of mourning about mutilation of constitution. But we see that this is it is been a phenomenon in Zimbabwe. Yagara ichiitika. And do we choose a time where we say kumutilate a constitution kana kuibata bata, it's okay where we are benefiting? Kana kuti kubata bata constitution chinhu chakaipa generally? Because we see in 2008 Zimbabwe had a constitution. Constitution of Zimbabwe never had any room for a prime minister. But when that factor leading to GNU was put in, nobody complains about mutilation of constitution. Why? Is it because it's not father?
Aiwa paipai handifunga kuti izvo zvakafadza vanhu because ndimi makatoitirwa favor kapaipai.
No.
Ndimi makatoitirwa favor because you had lost the election. You lost that election.
Okay.
You stole that election. And makatoitirwa favor kuti izvo muravinenge muri kutonga.
I want to believe that. I want to, even if I want to believe that, Mukoma Cherati. It's
the outmatch the truth. Mugabe said he lost the election by 73%. Mugabe got here 27%. No, less than 27%, because the other percentage went to Kunasimba Makoni. Nofunga Mugabe akatwana kana 10% and he lost the election. Emerson Mnangagwa is on record telling us kuti akaudza vamutasa kuti zvokoma kuti zeko tinogadzisa zvinhu. Emerson Mnangagwa is on record kuti akaudza vamugabe kuti don't worry, we'll fix this. We had the election result delayed for more than 3 months just to announce. Is it a month or 3 months just to announce an election result? It was cooked, such that we ended up having Morgan Tsvangirai winning by 48%, and then Mugabe 43%, just to make sure that we go to a runoff. And that runoff, it was marred by killing of our people, long sleeve, short sleeve, everything that you can think of, happened, mutilating our people, raping our people, stealing and everything. And then a decision had to be made. That was good for the benefit of the country and to save the lives of our people. So surely that wasn't a favor for the opposition.
No, I'm not saying it's a favor. I didn't say it was a favor. I'm standing on the
Madizo benefited.
Yes, exactly. Because
so how did it benefit the opposition?
No,
just because you are saying that the position of prime minister was created, and to you it's a benefit.
No, it's not that, and nakuti where the opposition benefited.
But that is what you said, Diga.
No, I said where.
Mbunzo wenyu mati pakumitilitwa ningi kwe constitution apa. Pane pekuti kana kuri favorable. It must not happen, but kana kusiri favorable. Kana kuri favorable, it must happen. Kana kusiri favorable, it must not happen. That is yes. And then you gave an example of 2008.
Yes, I'm addressing everybody.
Yeah. General Zimbabwe. No, but are you aware that historically the amendment of the Zimbabwean constitution since 1980 until we had the new constitution, and with its amendment, it wasn't for the benefit of the opposition. It was one-sided. All the 19 amendments or 20 amendments that has happened, they were all to benefit ZANU-PF. So there's no way, this 2008, it wasn't a benefit for the opposition.
No, I never said the benefit to the opposition. I said address as kuti where in constitution is amended, where we feel could we benefit, it's okay, we don't make a noise, even if it is being mutilated. So right now, and I'll a good example. Year 2008, the Government of National Unity, that document, where Zimbabwe had a standing constitution.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a piece of paper being drafted by interested parties,
Mm-hmm.
not by the generality of the people of Zimbabwe, nor their representatives, as per constitution,
Mm-hmm.
which stipulated that the people of Zimbabwe are represented by their parliamentarians.
Mm-hmm.
And this document was actually shipped from South Africa after my interested parties had drafted it.
Mm-hmm.
It came to replace our constitution.
Mm-hmm.
We did not complain.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
Why?
nobody.
But why were we supposed to complain then?
No, because we are supposed to stand with our constitution. Those who believed that
So okay, so why didn't Emerson Mnangagwa stand with what the constitution says, that if you lose an election you go?
everybody in Zimbabwe did not stand with the constitution. Ndopandikubvunza ipapo kuti why do we lean on the side where
Uncle Gerard, you are derailing us with this back and forth in a Lion King. Dai mangu wadzikisa zve.
Pechipedza henyu mukoma.
ndopandangotaura ipapo kuti ano tinenge tichitaura hedu zvimwe but pane zvimwe zvinhu zvatokanganwa patinenge tabodi tazvisetera eprecedent tega.
No, yeah, no. I hear you, Kutizo. You are addressing that us in Ngesema Zimbabweans, but I want, you know what? I want to believe, Kuti, that is a bad example, that is used to try and probably bring sanity to what, or try to make whatever it is that is impending to be seen in the right light or anything like that. Because 2008, Mkoma, is a year that most of us would rather forget. Whatever it is that happened during that time.
But in my narrative, I'm pushing it further. You see, and then ndotora nyaya yenhagekiri yesame constitution. But now at the moment we have this constitution, and this constitution, are we looking at it being amended or revisited through the way the 2008 constitution was revisited, or we are going to look at it being revisited in a proper constitutional manner? So there's Wuti. If we are going to refuse a proper constitutional sort of staged amendment, but we will rather accept a pushed in document, and we see that this tega, you see, this tega, and then tomorrow when other things happen, we come back to mourn again.
Who created that platform for a document to be pushed to us? If you can answer that, then you take us with all the narratives that you are giving us.
We know that document yaka pushiwa nema interested party, not by the generality of Zimbabwe.
And who are these interested parties?
All those that were involved.
Who are those? Name them.
Right. Kunoti ZANU-PF, MDC, under Tsangirai, then MDC, young area, and Simbamakon was pushed out, and Ndiani Mtambara. Is it Mtambara? Those three interested parties. But by Tangoona, he participated in these elections. We had Simbamakon has participated in those elections. They were pushed out. But only these interested parties. So that rendered vamwe vaise ona Tungoona nana Simbamakoni as non-Zimbabweans were better off no Zimbabweans because they were not considered. But we accepted it.
What had happened to trigger that? I will pose questions. One, as you answer, if Uncle Gerard, you allow me, what had caused us to get to that compromise? Because that was a compromise, and right now there is no compromise that needs our constitution to be amended. What compromise needs to be done now to allow the constitution to be amended? And those people that are in parliament, are they the right people to make those amendments? Or the constitution inofana kuya kuvanhu as a referendum to amend as citizens?
So are we saying we have to have a compromise for a bad thing to happen? You see, are we saying kuti isisu ndoba ndotika I don't know kuti kana muchiti vanhu vari muparliament they are not the right people to be there. I don't understand because we are being unconstitutional again. You see, I don't understand. There should be a compromise for us to commit a sin. Is that what you are saying? Or a sin should be something that cannot be committed, irregardless. The good, what we want is to uphold that holiness. And then ndo rasha hangu on the issue yamataura mukoma Gerald yavachiwenga coming through ZANU-PF leadership. We look at it from a historical perspective. Ndabaningi Stole was pushed out. There was nobody anga akaappointwa kuti achaita leader unless the Dare asked the chairman Chitepo to step in for the leader. Chitepo dies, ZANU goes leaderless up to 1975-76. Mugabe goes to Mozambique. Dare Chimurenga Romuramba ended up having a Congress 77 where he is voted a leader. You see, so what we know is that we might have assumptions, but actually ZANU-PF leaders have come from Congress, unless if they are asked to step in, like what Chitepo was.
No. Mine is not an assumption. I think I made it clear that it came out of an interview that I had with the Matema Danda when he was trying to justify why Emerson Mnangagwa should be, the president. It's not an assumption. It's on record. The interview is there. I interviewed him for 2 hours. He said that he told me. So this is not something that I just brewed up like
No, Mkoba Jerry.
yeah, like tea.
No, Mkoba Jerry, don't think what I'm criticizing you. That's why I said I like your narrative. You see, but I'm just analyzing the thought of actually sticking everything together. What you are saying, I'm not saying it's wrong. Cannot you are making up things. It is an issue of totally. Even in inherent ZANU-PF members, they believe we might tend to believe that leaders come through like that. But leaders don't come through like that. They are asked in out of a selection of, okay, stand in or be voted through Congress.
Right.
As we can see right now, Wachiwenga, like what the chorus is purporting, seeing Wachiwenga is a potential replacement. We are in for a surprise because look, understanding ZANU-PF on its own. Who really, as we are sitting right now, who really has got the power to choose a leader in ZANU-PF? That's the first question. Is it my ordinary members, per se, per individual, munari kusero? Kanauti, there is a clique of people who represents those cells, who can choose a leader. Because right. I'm saying this on the backdrop of a need in ZANU-PF. For you to stand for leadership, nofanira kuva nesupport at least 7 provinces. You cannot be picked by an individual.
Right. No, Mkoma. I am saying good izvozvo but in what I was just saying is, I know Angud, you are now trying to give us, what happens in ZANU-PF. But at that particular, moment, that did not even matter. To these guys, to you, the war veterans, that did not even matter. Whether the ZANU-PF says this or that, so many provinces, so many what, to them, it did not matter because there was a threat that they were perceiving to be coming from Grace Mugabe. And that threat needed to be dealt with without even thinking about saying, constitution, no. These guys wanted action to be taken, or these guys wanted to cause a change to happen in Zimbabwe. Them in ZANU-PF, them operating as an affiliate of ZANU-PF. Saka zvese izvozvo zvamukutaura, I do understand, I do get you, kuti izvo just as same as any other constitution, that we have seen. For you to have a change, a leader, this has to happen, but I am talking about situations like the situation that we are currently, faced with, right now. And yes, kudos if we are taken down, that route whereby you guys, you give us this change of leadership as per the constitution of ZANU PF and what it says. Kudos, there's no problem. But there is also what we are being told and what we are seeing. Kuti izvo ndo zviri kunzi izvo ndo zviri kuda kuitika. And that is what we are saying, kuti when you are looking at the 2025 comparing to 2021 2017, you are finding that what is the reason underpinning this call for a change or removal of Emerson Mnangagwa coming from a faction of ZANU PF. They are saying that we should not be tampering with the constitution. This is not us. This was brought to us. Kuti muda kuita temper with the constitution. When God was, telling us, you guys, you're the ones who passed the resolution number 1. We did not pass, resolution, number 1. In the minority resolution number 1, change. This is, your thing. But whatever it is, that is happening affects Zimbabweans. That is why you are seeing that, there's an interest from Zimbabweans in what is going on in ZANU-PF, because it is the ruling party. And going to the lessons of 2017, we found out that even though Mugabe had, even though Mugabe went, we still got a leader from ZANU-PF, because the operation of the ZANU-PF constitution took effect and they gave us, a leader. And our opposition, figures that had participated, or that is that were part and parcel of that, vakabadiswa pasi. Hence, we learned from 2017. You understand? So all these things, Mkoma, it's not like, I know could my constitution change. Amendments, can be made. It's not an issue, it's not a problem. But when we are making an amendment, that amendment should not be done the way that amendments have been done in Zimbabwe, to only benefit those who are making, that amendment. Sometimes, there won't be any buy-in from the generality of the Zimbabwean, people when it comes to that amendment. When you look at the consultations that, they do, they are not proper, constitution. If you go there, it becomes a ZANU-PF event, and the people who want, to speak about it, or who want to voice, to say anything about, the amendment, they are drowned out. Some of them, they are chased away, and it just becomes a ZANU-PF circus through and through, leading to amendments that are only benefiting, the ZANU-PF leadership, or the ZANU-PF, people, at the expense of the generality of Zimbabweans. If you want to change a constitution, and if it is beneficial to the Zimbabwean people as a whole, I've got no problem, with it. But saying changing a constitution just because Emerson Mnangagwa does not want, to stick to 2 terms, he wants, to extend, and then hopefully somewhere down the line he brings in, because Emerson Mnangagwa is supposed to go. If we follow the 2-term, limits, 2028 is stepping out. Somebody from ZANU-PF comes in and become the candidate in 2028. An election is done. But this proposed, or this whatever amendment that is being spoken about, is speaking about him extending his term, benefiting from his term, and then hopefully somewhere down the line he brings in somebody who's aligned to him to protect whatever it is that is a must. That is not proper. That is not right. I don't know the folks, that defend that. I don't know what it is, that will be going through your minds when you're defending that. So
Oh, it's not
what will you be thinking at
Mkoma
that
Njeri.
material time when you think this thing, is going, pear-shaped. But you're here, saying, oh, this, Nabaza, why are you complaining? Because basically you're saying, why are you complaining?
No, 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 no. I'm just raising a view. Like right now, Kuti, look here. The conversation, yeah, Nagikiri, yeah, 2030, is not a national conversation. It's a private club conversation. One way ZANU PF.
Oh.
They are still and Waka raise resolution number 1. They are still making it a conversation of whether we will learn pakupera weekend.
Aye, Waga. But
Yeah.
but do you really understand why people end up, being invested, in this? Because when you guys have Garwe openly saying good is Aguna election in 2028, and you are saying good is this is a private matter. But this guy is speaking kuti hakuna in election, which is a public thing.
Garwani authority yokuti
Ai wakabatika anditi munenge muchiona mavideo yacho nenge muchitenderedza.
Aiwa, but Garwe anaka that authority, we know.
But
Garwe is a provincial chairperson of National and East or Central. He is a provincial chairperson. So he wields power. He controls the province.
But Ana national power.
Oh dear.
But my provinces are the ones that create the national power. Don't try to be mischievous here.
Province. No. Province. In my province over there, Henaro. Sakamoto is something that should be ignored.
My province is ZANU-PF as my national provinces. Garwe is not a province.
And what comes from ZANU-PF doesn't it affect the nation? Stop being mischievous, Lion King.
Aiwa, ndinzwisise hama yangu usati waita asha. Ndopandiri kuti at the moment this conversation it only makes sense kana uri kuZANU-PF because it's within ZANU-PF at the moment. Haisati yapakurwa vakazouya vachita okay ndozvawafunga vakuipakurira kuvanhu.
Right.
You see, kumaZimbabweans.
Imimi pavanenge muchiitiudza pasocial media muchikuipakurere.
One thing, you know, among my ZANU-PF followers, there are some people who are anti-2030. There are some people who are pro-2030. So right now, these people are going, as my comrades, to go and discuss this. You see, it's not only the other side which is anti-2030.
Alright, mukoma ninge atapanzwa iri gaitendere dumbere tifambire mberi ningine chirongwa. Thank you very much for being part and parcel of the conversation. But you know what, it is expected anyway. Because I wasn't going to be expecting anything other than
Zimbabwe corruption is madness. I remain one blow, Mr. Blow, as I blow the corruption, mutilation for my generation. Hear me now. Shout out to Raspi. We have a mafia government in Zimbabwe. We have no rights in Zimbabwe because the police and them soldiers are corruption. See, we have no ministers in Zimbabwe because they appoint their sons and girlfriends. Mama, corruption. The police is brutal, the military is volatile. See, corruption. Every corruption in Zimbabwe. Hear me now. How can a whole nation with ministers lost 15 billion? Zimbabwe is funny, the diamonds were given to Chinese in exchange for cheese. What about their Zimbabwe? Yeah. Corruption, 3 airplanes went missing. Mugabe and his in-laws and we're dishing. Let's talk about weak, no solar and hospital plus goats. The minister and president lie under oath. They injected Morgan and silenced the revolution. I cry corruption. They paid Nelson and stole the election. The nation left in confusion. Mr. Wamblo, I say it's corruption. Big up to you, one boy. This nation is rotten. We need a revolution. And youth on a mission. Say no to corruption. I'm about to cry now. Prophets and pastors lie for cash cars from Wignell. We have fake socialite and ass-licking musicians. You just praiser. Preacher, try more. Walter Magaya and you Pastor Yan. Poverty makes us brainless, calling looters boss and praising corrupt military. Why do journalists fear? Big up Opwell and blessed salute out and Soul TV. What happened to General Solomon, Air Marshal Terence Sherry, Minister SB Moyo? Where is Walter Muzembe? Don't forget more blessing Ali. This government mama is corrupt and bloodthirsty. No to clueless government, sex for Mr. Appointments. No to gold mafia. Even you, Prophet Angel, you a criminal. We have a mafia government in Zimbabwe. We have no rights in Zimbabwe because the police and them soldiers were corruption. See, we have no ministers in Zimbabwe because they appoint their sons and girlfriends. Mama, corruption. The police is brutal, the military is volatile. See, corruption. Every corruption in Zimbabwe.